The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Subscribe to the First and 12 podcast. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio.
Welcome on into First and 12 here on KSL News Radio. It's year 3 of the program. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you, and we're on a new night. Typically, we're holding it down on the weekends, on Sundays. Now we're going to have it on Tuesday nights. It's a kind of like a football Tuesday here on KSL News Radio. We got Cougar Tracks, First and 12, and then tonight we'll have the BYU Football Coaches Show. Loaded night on Tuesdays here during the football season. We're breaking down the 16-team Big 12, Alex.
I am so excited about it. You know, this is a far cry from us doing this at 3 or 4 in the morning during our post-game stuff during the year, but it's nice to be doing this. You and I have done a lot of hours of radio together, Mitch, and so I get excited about doing anything with you, anything that's sports-related. It's a ton of fun for us, and so if you followed the program at all, we do. We cover everything top to bottom in the Big 12, and it's our first official week. I mean, we were going through the dadgum desert, Mitch, the last couple of weeks. It was like it was that calm before the storm. And literally, there was a massive storm with Kansas State and Iowa State over there in Dublin. I'm not even referring to the post-game action between the Johnson family. I'm just talking about how wild we're already going to be getting. And I know we're going to sneeze, and this thing will be into week 8. But right now, we've got actual football to talk about. And let's kick things off here. It's our first segment of the program. Of the entire year, it's our Big 12 headlines.
12 headlines.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The dozen storylines that shape this week of Big 12 football. Headline 1.
Year 2 of the 16-team Big 12. It's the 30th year anniversary for the conference, but even though it's year 30, it feels like it's still a new league. Arizona State returns as the defending league champion and should make for another wide-open year in the conference, and that brings us to headline number 2.
Headline 2.
All right, we weren't allowed to do a media poll this year at Big 12 Media Days, Mitch, because we blew it so bad. Not you and I personally, although I think we screwed it up just along with everybody else, right? I mean, the reality is everyone got this one wrong, and the media poll, whether or not you want to talk about I don't know if we're going to see the same inverse flip, but I think part of it is that you have so many teams that are able to make that adjustment. You have so many teams that are able to look like that they at least looked apart. And we do this in the offseason, of course, where we're able to figure this thing out. But I'm telling you, Mitch, this is one of those things that I get excited about because there are 7, 8 teams. Now, by the end of the year, we might make fun of this and go, how did we think that team was going to be one of those contenders? But that's how this works. This is top to bottom, a very talented league. No media poll means that we have a wide-open race.
3.
Headline 3, beginning of a new media rights deal for the league. ESPN, Fox, TNT Sports will televise Big 12 games. $31.7 million is the reported payout per school, and it's notable because this new media rights is what saved the league. If this didn't happen, there's probably still a Pac-12 and the Big 12 might be gone. So it's an important piece to the identity of the Big 12 Conference, and it ties into what's the new branding of the league.
This field belongs to the ones who take it. This season doesn't come with the script. This is where everything is earned, and we mean everything. We don't do handouts here. You want the spotlight? Earn it. You want to shine different? Prove it. 30 years strong, and we keep shining brighter. This is Big 12 football. This is a different league.
4.
Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps here.
Different league, Alex.
Who was it that did that voiceover work, Mitch?
You know that was your mark. You know that he's like, he heard it's like, brilliant. It's aspirational.
I think it's great. This is one of those things. And by the way, that's where headline number 5 comes in because Brett Yormark is obviously very, very proud of this conference and what he's built.
Headline 5.
And once again, I believe we will be the deepest football conference in America. No league offers the competitive balance that we do.
There we were, Mitch, in Texas, in Frisco, Texas, listening to that very speech. And, sometimes it's just sunshine and rainbows, and we pretend like, sure, you're going to be a massive league. He believes it this third year. I mean, he's the guy who's believed it from day one, but when you've added the teams that you have over the past couple of seasons, hard to think that this league couldn't be even better, but I think they're going to be, and he certainly believes it.
6.
And he also believes that the Big 12 is going to produce multiple teams in the college football playoff.
I fully expect the Big 12 to earn multiple college football playoff bids this year and to show once again that we can compete with anyone.
Last year, Arizona State was so close to knocking off Texas in the Peach Bowl. Maybe this year, multiple teams can get into that playoff.
7.
4 teams going into the front end of this season are in the AP Top 25. It could be a totally different set of 4 teams later. And you probably are going to see Kansas State knocked out of this first one, or at least on the very edge. But Arizona State 11. Kansas State was in that first poll at 17, Iowa State 22, and Texas Tech 23. Like I said, these are all guesses, but you know what? That's what we love so much about it.
Headline 8.
That's the quarterbacks. It's the Big 12 quarterback club. That's how the league is branding its QBs. So much talent in the league at quarterback this year. This was Brett Yormark on the depth of the quarterback position inside the Big 12.
This year, our star power, especially at quarterback, will be on full display. The Big 12 returns 9 starting quarterbacks who threw for over 2,400 yards last season. The rest of the Power 4 combined, just 11.
There you've got it. I mean, it's not just about the quarterbacks across the conference, but how about the quarterbacks within this state by themselves? Very intriguing stuff. Here's headline 9.
9.
Bear Bachmeier, Mitch, you've been able to break it down. We actually got to hear from the freshman this week. Very exciting stuff.
We did, and, it's going to be very exciting. And I even talked with his older brother, Hank Bachmeier, who kind of said, hey, Cougar fans, please be patient with him. It will be up and down at times, and even his brother said that. But there is a lot of excitement for Bear Bachmeier, first true freshman quarterback to start week 1. While on the flip side, up north, the Utes, they've got an intriguing talent.
10.
Preseason newcomer of the year, Devin Dampier, comes in from New Mexico. Even though it's a new spot for him, it feels like it's just more of the same because all the success he had in New Mexico, that carries over. His OC is still the same. Jason Beck comes with him to Salt Lake. I got to expect Utah's going to take a big leap offensively with Jason Beck calling the plays and Dampier, as dynamic as he is. Utah should be pretty good offensively
It's exciting. I mean, that's the thing you never know about is what are you going to get with a brand new offense? But with Utah fans in Utah, they must be thinking a brand new offense is exactly what the doctor ordered.
11.
I love this, by the way, Alex. And Kyle Whittingham is probably ticked. Maybe Mike Gundy as well. But player availability reports have arrived in the Big 12 Conference. Now, keep in mind, the non-conference games, it does not apply. Only conference games will we get details on who's in, who's out for these games in regards to injuries. I just think it's needed. And look, it's weird to think that college sports is bending the knee a bit to the gamblers, but I think we don't underestimate how much these players get DMs and messages saying from gamblers, you cost me these thousands of dollars. I'm sure it happens more than we realize.
Of course.
Have it all out there above board. And honestly, it makes it easier for the coaches. Then they don't have to get peppered with questions all the time about who's in, who's out.
Yeah, but this week you've already seen a little bit of this. Have you seen the depth charts some schools are putting out?
Yes.
They're just blank pieces of paper. I was at least appreciative to see some names on the list that BYU put out this week. But, Utah State, Utah putting out a blank sheet of paper. I love it. We're already in that battle of who's going to be there. Speaking of, final headline going into this week.
And headline number 12.
All right, Mitch, I'm going to roll this out for you. The surprise team in the wide-open Big 12 this year. I've been thinking a lot about this, and JJ and I had to kind of commit to this at some point during our program, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do something wild. Everybody else has done something. I mean, what is considered crazy? I guess maybe picking West Virginia would be as a champion would be something similar to last year. I'm going to go with a team from Texas, and I'm going to go with the TCU Horned Frogs.
I love that pick, and that was kind of going to be my pick. I think TCU has incredible talent. I think they're top 25 in terms of their roster talent, and their recruiting has been really good with Sonny Dykes. You had the chance to talk with him at Big 12 Media Days, and I always like an underdog TCU team. I never like the expectations from a TCU team. They always seem like every 2 or 3 years. Think back to Trayvon Boykin in 2014, Andy Dalton back when they were in the Mountain West. But TCU has always had these years where they win big. And then Max Duggan, of course, 3 years ago, TCU is a great pick. I think another sleeper, honestly, is someone like a Baylor. Baylor's got a huge opportunity coming up this week. We'll dive into that coming up in the upcoming week preview. But I think Baylor with Sawyer Robertson coming back. I didn't like the Dave Aranda Wolf on Wall Street comments that he had in the offseason with some Texas high school coaches, but still, I think Baylor's pretty talented. We got to take our first break. We are locked and loaded here on First and 12 on KSL News Radio. Coming up next, we'll give you takeaways from Week 0 as it was a jam-packed week in Big 12 football from the opening week of the season. This is First and 12 on KSL News Radio.
Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is First and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Thanks for being with us on the program. Feels good to be on at night again on KSL News Radio. I'm not going to lie. I held down this spot for a good 12 years, and man, it feels good to be on in the evenings again, and love the audience that is at night because you know what? They're a little bit more eclectic, a little bit more understanding, and frankly, if you're a football fan and you're getting ready for the Big 12, here we are. I don't know how much you can take away from or how much we want to beat up on or heap praise onto these first couple of games in the Big 12. What a nasty start to the season for Iowa State and Kansas State. I mean, it was absolutely dumping there in Dublin. And going over to Ireland to play a football game, I'm still mixed on this whole thing and why they needed to do it at all in the first place and have a conference game in Week 0 and a big one, too. That seems like a strange mix. I didn't love it. I think the NFL is great across the pond. I mean, it took Chris Kleiman getting home looking over his shoulder going, I watched his press conference yesterday, and he was like, okay, is anybody listening? That was terrible grass. He was like, the footing was terrible. The rain was coming down, and it was now you say that when you lose, but that's a massive loss. And it's a big win for Iowa State, but massive loss for Kansas State. I look at their schedule and I go, I could find 3 more losses inside that thing, Mitch.
And they sacrificed a home game for extra money. Kansas State's AD, Gene Taylor, they took an extra payday, and I know it's the rev share era, and everyone's worrying about trying to get more money, but now you're probably thinking you would have liked that game in Manhattan in October and November, and instead you go across the pond and you take an L, kind of a double whammy for K-State. But I came away really impressed with the opportunity and the stage that the Big 12 got by being in that opportunity to kick off a season. Because we saw it last year in college football where the Big 12 got slept on. The Big 12 champ going into November in Manhattan, ESPN's College Game Day was just like, why are we picking this game? 2 7-2 football teams, whereas this one took on a big stage. It felt like a massive game, and it was a big game, and that got treated as such. And I bring that up just because it doesn't feel like the Big 12 always gets that. Hopefully we see more of that where the Big 12 is being treated like this is big-time college football, and it was. Now, the play on the field, because of the conditions, I think you're right. Like, how much do you really take into that? But I did like the defenses on these teams. I think both of that's going to carry over into the following weeks. But I always get worried for the teams that lose in Ireland. You think of Nebraska, Florida State. Oh, yeah. They always go. They go on to have terrible seasons.
So 10 losses then? You're going to sign it up for Kansas State this year already?
Is it unreasonable to think after all the drama, not only on the field, but then off the field, could it be a 7-5 campaign for K-State? I think so. I mean, K-State's emerged quietly as that consistent team that we chalk up 8-9 wins. We kind of thought Utah would be that coming into the league, but they had a uncharacteristic 5-win season last year. So this is going to be some real adversity for Kleiman's squad to bounce back from. But I think Avery Johnson's taken a lot of heat. I thought he was really good in the second half. They kept answering. They just never capitalized on fourth down, and that's what ultimately cost them the game.
Yeah, I was really shocked that Kansas State lost in the trenches. Like, that is a weird thing for me to watch. Yeah. A Kansas State offensive line go in and get pushed around, but you were talking about how strong those defenses were. The amount of talent on the edges and at linebacker, I mean, Kansas State's got some dogs at linebacker.
Yeah, Purnell and Austin Romaine are excellent.
Romaine is like on another planet. He feels a lot like that Luke Kuechly type a guy who just he sniffs out everything. He's done his film work, and that's great. But I'm telling you, they've got a lot of work to do. JJ made an actual like case of them going 7-5 because so many of their games are on the road and that are important, and their big games are all at home. And like you said, they already lost one because that was considered a home game over in Ireland. So I'm telling you, it's a little bit of a weird shakeout, but you know they got the season started for us. It was a close game. Chris Kleiman and his guys, they had a chance to get the ball back with 6 minutes left. I mean, the final score ended up the way it was with 7 minutes left in the game. And it was a battle, and Kansas State could not stop Iowa State toward the end.
3 consecutive wins in Farmageddon for Matt Campbell over Chris Kleiman. And honestly, since Kleiman's been at K-State since 2019, Campbell's dominated him. 5 out of the 7 Iowa State has won. And it's a shame that this rivalry, self-inflicted by the Big 12, is going to take a break. Brett Yormark was kind of pressed by the reporters out in Ireland about that, and I think the Big 12 needs to really reevaluate. Maybe those supplementary rivalries. You got Kansas State.
You have one here. You have Arizona State, BYU that's going away. That is so dumb.
You need K-State, Iowa State to continue playing. Hopefully Scott Draper and the football, ops team with the Big 12 realize, hey, we need to keep this going because there's a lot of momentum. You want this nastiness, this edge from these matchups that K-State, Iowa State, BYU, Arizona State produces. You want that to continue annually. But, I think that for Iowa State to get a win where Rocco Beck looked pretty pedestrian, I mean, he didn't have any interceptions, but the fumbles between the two teams with the conditions. But Rocco Beck struggled in that first half. He only completed 50% of his passes.
That's kind of his vibe, though. He's kind of a 57 to 59% completion rate guy.
He was a freshman of the year 2 years ago, but I don't know if he's taken a massive leap forward, but he's still steady enough. And with Hansen and Abu Sama in the backfield, Iowa State's going to be steady, and they're not going to give up many points. They can win a lot of 24-21 games and maybe have a chance to go to Arlington once again.
Another game that happened, again, under the radar. This one sort of just snuck in there, but that Kansas versus Fresno State game, I know it's Fresno State, but I think the biggest storyline in this one wasn't just that they blew the doors off of Fresno State and they have this brand new shiny stadium that they have ready for them at KU. It's that Jalen Daniels, we might actually see the guy, the healthy version of him, the one we've been trying to preview the last couple of years. How about 18 for 20 for 176 yards and 3 touchdowns? You just walk in, get it done, and then walk out of that game, and you stay healthy. That guy could be extremely scary, and we slept on him the last couple. Well, we talked about him too much the last couple of years. Maybe we're sleeping on him in the offseason this year. In a conference full of quarterbacks, he's usually the 8th or 9th guy usually mentioned.
I think we just got a little bit of fatigued with saying, 2 years ago we gave you all the flowers and you guys just didn't live up to it. Yep. But yeah, Jalen Daniels reminded us when he's healthy, and I think the concerns in spring when he was, pretty much absent and dealing with another injury in spring ball is like, oh no, here we go again. But when he's on, he is electric in this league. And then Daniel Hishaw, too, stepping in for Devin Neal. And Hishaw's been there, for a handful of years. He looked really good, 13 carries, 69 yards. So Lance Leipold, new offensive coordinator. Jeff Grimes took a lot of heat last year from fans. Maybe that changeup is addition by subtraction potentially for Kansas as they were flying high out of the gates in their new David Booth Stadium.
Let's take another break here. We'll get to the bottom of the hour, then we'll come back. Guess what we've got? We've got so many. It's not even just the quarterbacks that are exciting in this league. How about the coaches and the coaching storylines that are right there? Stay right here with us. More to go. It's First and 12, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Subscribe to the First and 12 podcast. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio.
Having a great time. Year 3 of First and 12 on a new night, Tuesdays, here on the program, and every week we will be here on KSL News Radio talking Big 12 football. We'll talk BYU and Utah too, but we're going to cover this league inside and out over the next 15 or so weeks as the chase to Arlington here in Big 12 football. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you, and you teased it, Alex, on the previous segment, but the Big 12 coaches, there is a lot of intrigue with these coaches. So many different personalities, so many different angles to kind of dive into the coaches in this conference. Just kind of big picture, what do you make of just the overall makeup of this collection of characters, if you will?
Here locally, you got Kalani going into his 10th year, which is wild, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, like, we've been covering this guy for 10 years already, which is almost the amount of time. What was Bronco at BYU? 11 years?
Yeah.
I mean, in a moment, he's going to be the longest tenured head coach in BYU football, or the second longest tenured coach in BYU football history, behind Lavelle Edwards, his own coach. And you know what? He's done a phenomenal job. You think about the Portland State game that BYU has coming up this week has made me think a lot about that 2017 season overall, because it was such a weird start to it. And Portland State was that weird start. And I wonder what, this is going to look like. But I think about how far Kalani's come. That's a great storyline. And at the same time, here locally, we're all wondering what Kyle Whittingham is going to be doing. He walked away from the almost retired talk. You could tell he was sick of hearing from it. The comment that he made about, I'm probably not going to be at that Miami and
Yes.
Utah game in Las Vegas. When he said that last year at Media Days, it started up this whole weird thing about everybody retiring Kyle Whittingham for him. He's got a lot of work that he wants done. He keeps calling last year a debacle. I love that he uses that term. He's like, I like doing this. I'm having fun doing this. Last year was not fun, and I'm telling you, if he has a really, really fun season this year, maybe Morgan Scalley has to just be the coach in waiting for as long as Kyle has fun.
Well, and that's the challenge, too, for Utah. When you look at Kyle Whittingham, is that Whittingham's a legend. He's their version of Lavelle. As far as, like, you build a statue, Kyle Whittingham has done some great things for Utah. But at the same time, Morgan Scalley, I think, has got big-time potential in recruiting, and I just think that you don't want to lose that guy. And at what point does he just get impatient and say, you know what? We know that he got pursued by USC. He's been pursued in the past by other Power 4 programs. At what point does he say, all right, I'm moving on? And that's kind of the juggling act that you got to the balance here. But I got to think that Kyle Whittingham's going to have a bounce back here. I'd be stunned if they go 5-7.
No,
I was stunned that they went 5-7 last year, but can they get to the upper tier of the league? I mean, we got to remember they haven't won a Big 12 home game yet since they joined this conference. So they went 2-7 a season ago. So when Whittingham says it was a debacle, it definitely was. And with Kalani Sitake, just can he keep the momentum going? He gets a long-term contract extension last December. He's locked in now. And he's got his whole coaching staff with him. They've all been retained. And so Kalani Sitake's got the staff. It took a decade, but he's got all the coaches that he envisioned he needed and wanted when he took the job back in 2016. And there are other coaches in the Big 12, like Kalani, who also have recent contract extensions in the past year. Matt Campbell, just fresh off that huge win in Ireland, he's locked into 2032. Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State, he's locked in through 2029. And then Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, he's locked in through 2029.
Settle down. That guy, I'm going to say it right now, this is his last year at Colorado.
Maybe for the health, too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There's that on top of the fact that, like, what's really keeping him there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does he love doing this? Does he love coaching from that? Does he love living in Dallas and trying to commute up to Boulder? I have no clue.
I will say, though, him getting Juju Lewis, the heralded quarterback who's a true freshman, that kind of said to me that at least he's saying the right things, that I want to be all in. And we know Coach Prime, like, his style is maybe very unique by coaches, but he pretty much tells the truth. When a guy is going to play in a bowl game, he just says they're going to play, and then they end up playing. And he's not hiding behind things. So when he says, I want to coach Juju or coach these guys, like, I'm going to be here. But you do wonder just from the health perspective, because he battled cancer this offseason, and you go, how does that work? I mean, health-wise, you want to hopefully Coach Prime's going to be okay.
I just see those long-term contract extensions, and I see all those other guys, they want to be where they're at. And I just wonder about Coach Prime, how much he's going to say, you know what, I got to figure this out with my family. I got to make sure that I'm there for them. And his kids are growing up and moving on. And I don't know. Part of it is that I've chatted with the guys from Denver Sports across the mountains, our sister station across over there, and they're like, oh, we don't feel great about him staying very long. So there could be that. I might be affected by that as well. But you got a couple of repeat customers in Rich Rodriguez going to West Virginia, and then Scott Frost to UCF, where he made his hay and basically earned his way back to coach at his alma mater at Nebraska. And then that was a disaster. He comes back. I think out of those two coaches, look, I don't hate Rich Rod at all, man. When
I
he
like
talked
Rich
to us,
Rod.
when he chatted with us at Big 12 Media Day, I kind of bought into all the things he was talking about. The guy's gotten a fresh, renewed look at how this thing goes. He feels comfortable there. I feel like Scott Frost is just like grasping for something at this point. I think there's a big difference between those two guys.
That's a great point. And I think with Rich Rod, my only complaint, this is very probably new generation. He's probably going to cringe if he ever heard something like this. But why is he taking away TikTok from the players? Like in an era where, like, why? That's so 2007. When Twitter first came about, hey, everyone's got to take away Twitter.
Put your phones away, kids.
Put them away. Like, you're taking away TikTok? As someone who's covering Ryder Lyons, the new BYU commit, the king of aura, TikTok is what it's all about these days, folks. But that's the only mishap from Rich Rod thus far. But I'm with you on Scott Frost. It just feels like UCF was not as desirable of a job as they thought they would be when they jumped into the Big 12. Gus Malzahn was a complete mess, and him leaving for Florida State kind of prevented them from having to do a big payout. But, I hope it works for Scott Frost, but I just don't know if they're going to recapture that 2017 national championship glory. And hopefully for him, it does work out so he avoids any sort of hot seat. But there are some coaches, I think, Alex, in this league with 16, coaches. There's a handful. I think that could be in the hot seat this year, potentially.
Last year it was Dave Aranda. I think this year Dave Aranda's not really on the hot seat. I think they're at least avoiding that talk because they don't want that vibe at all. I mean, certainly if they go 5-7 this year, then you're going to see some changes probably there. Joey McGuire, the expectations are huge at Texas Tech, but I think that's a program that really likes him. And
don't you think he's got to win like $40 million roster?
He
supposedly?
does have to win. Yeah, but Cody Campbell really likes him.
That's true,
and that's the money guy. So who knows? Scott Satterfield is basically out the door. In my mind, he's out the door if Cincinnati can't win 8 or 9 games this year. Brent Brennan, I think they'll give him an extra season. Mike Gundy's an interesting study because we kind of have Kyle Whittingham and Mike Gundy in the same grouping, and they are nowhere near one another because Kyle Whittingham made some adjustments in his life. You know what I mean? Like he decided this NIL thing, I've got to live with it. The recruiting thing, I've got to live with it. The transfer portal, I'm going to redo my entire friggin' offense. Mike Gundy took $1 million salary cut because he's not getting it done. That's the equivalent of them telling him that's a vote of no confidence. And I think that Mike Gundy is not as interested in turning things around at this point. Now, does he regress back to what his mean is, which is winning? And can Oklahoma State get back to the point where they win 5-6 games in conference play? I mean, they went 0-9 last year. That was the biggest shock besides Arizona State on the entire thing. To have 0 wins in conference from Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State team, absolutely wild.
If you're Oklahoma State, you're hoping this salary cut turns into a situation as it did for Michigan a handful of years ago. Now, maybe they're a poor team to point to because they had the sign-stealing scandal. But, Jim Harbaugh took a pay cut, and then they started winning. They got to the playoff a handful of seasons consecutively, and it led to a national championship. I do think Gundy schematically is always willing to reinvent, but you do just wonder. I mean, he's got a completely new coaching staff. Like, it's all new. 10 new coaches, a bunch of new players. Most of them, even at Big 12 Media Day, he's like, I haven't seen him play in person. And he was candid about it. So I am really interested to see what Oklahoma State becomes. And then I think you got some steady coaches with Kleiman, Lance Leipold, Willie Fritz at Houston. I think he's on the uptick with Houston, and then Sonny Dykes at TCU. Dykes had a slow start last year, and you thought, ooh, this could get a little interesting, but 9-4.
We forget they won 9 games.
Yes.
And this is the reason I'm picking TCU is because at your peril, try to dock them on their talent. TCU gets the best recruits out of the state of Texas that are not Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, that's that. And right now, Texas Tech has been buying guys, but people like going to TCU. Sonny Dykes is easy to play for in the sense that you get there and go, hey, we're going to put up 45 points a game, and Josh Hoover is set to possibly have a really, really good year. I like that guy, and that's why I like TCU. I don't know. Every one of these guys, when they sit down, I'm like, gosh, these are some greasy salesmen, and I'm falling for every one of them. They really are.
It is a good collection of coaches. I think this is a fun, dynamic group of coaches in the Big 12, and it should make for some incredible storylines this season in the league. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll get to our game of the week here on First and 12 on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you, and it's powered by KSL Sports.
Read All the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is 1st and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Thanks for being with us. Every Tuesday, we're going to bring you this program, 7 to 9 p.m. Mitch Harper kicks things off. At 6:30, you've got a special edition of Cougar Tracks also every Tuesday. You getting worked enough, Mitch? You feel like we're abusing your talents, guy?
The daily grind. No, I'm enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun on Cougar Tracks every day on KSL Sports YouTube and here on KSL News Radio. But this is the business we have chosen, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. And this time of the year, football, it is crazy when week one arrives, because last week, I will say, in the build-up to week 0, it just felt like we were banging our head against the wall, rehashing some of the same storylines, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, the season is never going to get here. And then week 1 arrives, and you prepare all summer for it, and you think, okay, I'm not going to feel like there's too much, and like your schedule's all stretched thin, but it always happens. That's what college football does. It's always there's something about this sport compared to others where everything just feels tense. It feels on edge, and it just feels like stakes are so high. And
more so in week 1, right, where you have no clue what you're going to get from your team or from the teams that you're following.
So true.
Mean, I don't know why, but we convince ourselves that the best teams in the Big 12, Mitch, are going to go, everyone's going to be 7-2 by the end of this thing, but that's not mathematically how this is going to work. I really am not. I'm really hoping that there's not a 7-2 situation, because, look, here's who you're competing against. You're competing against the ACC. They got the 2 bids. There's not room for the ACC and the Big 12 to have 2 bids every year. There's no room for it. And BYU saw themselves on the outside looking in. It's unfortunate that when you lose a game on your schedule, like, not to whom, it's about when you lose those games. They lost those 2 to Kansas and Arizona State week to week, back-to-back games. But the reality was they had a way better they had a way better argument to make this college football playoff than SMU did. But when they lost the games mattered, which is a weird thing. I'm interested to see how the college football playoff thing, and we can talk about that at another point, how those new metrics are going to add up for this Big 12. But actual games getting played this week, and big ones if you're on the schedule. You've got your pick for a game of the week, and I've got my own.
I do, and I think it's on Friday night on the banks of the Brazos River at McLean Stadium in Waco. There's going to be a blackout. There's going to be gold chrome helmets. It's going to be a drone show. Baylor is rolling out all the stops as they host Auburn Friday night, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 o'clock in Waco, Texas on Fox. And hopefully you don't have YouTube TV, because you might not be able to watch that game. That was crazy.
That is weird. I mean, look, all the things that you've signed up to watch games on, you're going to have some beefs between contracts between some of these
always
networks, and it might be going dark for you, because the Utah UCLA game and this Baylor Auburn game, you could be blacked out of both of them if you're a YouTube TV watcher. Man.
But I'm so excited for this game because when you talk about the SEC and how they kind of just swallow up all the oxygen of the sport.
Yeah.
Greg Sankey, there's no mic that he doesn't like. He's always talking. Then you got the Big Ten. They never speak, and they just quietly lurk in the weeds and want to dictate everything in the sport. But the SEC thinks they run everything, yet they haven't won the national title, haven't even played for a national title the last 2 years. And you know what? A team like Baylor, who could be, middle of the road in the Big 12, but also is good enough potentially to win it, just like many in this league, be a nice piece for this conference to just say, hey, taking down an SEC team. These non-conference matchups are critical for the Big 12 as they continue to move forward in this 16-team era to take care of business. And I think Baylor last year was excellent. They were one of the best offenses in the country last season at season's end. But, they had that bowl game against LSU where they underwhelmed. They were a favorite in that one, and they just got kind of outclassed with the athletes. And I think Auburn, with Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma, I think they're going to be a pleasant surprise with Hugh Freeze. I think they're recruiting excellent. So this would be a huge win for Baylor if they could get it done. And honestly, it might be potentially their best win for Dave Aranda since the Sugar Bowl season in 2021 if they could get it. So I look at this just as a huge game to really kind of start to learn if Baylor is for real or not in the Big 12. And this is going to be one that kind of tells that story to me.
The thing about this game is it's a great time to get Auburn. because Hugh Freeze is doing a terrible job right now. He's not. Listen,
both teams
Auburn,
are kind of boom or bust this year.
Yeah, and Auburn's, I think, a lot worse. I mean, he had the negative press in the offseason because everyone saw his golf scores that he was posting on the USGA site, and then everyone's like, "Why aren't you freaking recruiting, man?" And all the coaches are like, "Why are you putting your scores in?" He's like, "I want to get my handicap down."
That's what we need in the Big 12. We need to start hounding these coaches with the golf scores. That's the next level we need.
But here's the real problem, is that Hugh Freeze and Auburn were 15th in recruiting in the offseason. That's Auburn, dude. This is a national champion in 2010 team. Yeah. This is not that far removed from greatness, and they're a sneeze away every year from having the best talent across the board. And I think that Hugh Freeze kind of got through the Liberty situation and rested on those laurels. I don't think that he's going to last long at Auburn. And Baylor, it's a great time to get him because you get him at home, you get him at your place, right? And they're struggling a little bit, and they're wondering what they're going to look like. And they know people are looking at them that they could absolutely steal one from Baylor because of all the talent that does come in. But when you're losing recruiting battles, I think in the next couple of years you're going to see this Auburn team fall off. And I really hope Baylor gets them and shows everybody else like, hey, they mean business. From a local perspective, Utah versus UCLA, that's my pick. That's my favorite for this weekend because I just want to see what Devin Dampier brings and to see what the quarterback situation is at UCLA too. We chatted with their sideline guy that we chat with every year. Oh my goodness, what was his Wayne Cook? Wayne Cook, who used to be a quarterback there at UCLA, and he's like, look, I'm excited for what I see. Deshaun Foster, speaking of guys on hot seats, I mean, he's got to do some things. He's got to make some hay here. The UCLA Bruins are a program that should not be laughed at, and here we are. And it's not a program that's on the up and up, and they're in the Big Ten, and so they're going to be in the bottom quarter of that conference forever if they can't change things. And then you've got Utah coming in going, oh, we come into the Rose Bowl and we absolutely dominate you guys. That's the history of Utah versus UCLA. And I think Kyle Whittingham looks and goes, and we chatted about it this week. You remember when Joe Williams ran all over UCLA for 332 yards?
Out of retirement.
Out of retirement. You remember when he did that back in 2016? I was like, Kyle Whittingham would be drooling to get his offense running the football for 300 yards against UCLA and going, you're welcome, we're just going to run this thing across the goal line.
We would probably be drooling, too, if they got the performance from the last time Utah and UCLA met as non-conference teams. So you remember that game? 2007. Remember old Tommy Grady going ballistic on UCLA. It's been 18 years since these two former Pac-12 foes met as non-conference teams, and you know, probably Mark Harlan loved rekindling some old Pac-12 rival. There's that subplot for the Utes going into this year, too. But I think this will be interesting. I'm really curious to see what Utah does with their interior, the defensive line. Losing Keanu Tanavasa was a big deal. They're going to turn to some younger guys. They got Pupu, who's going to probably be a really good player in the middle. They got Vakalahi and Viamahi. So they've got some talent. You expect Utah's going to be good there. But I think it's one of the bigger question marks in the interior of a defensive line that I've seen in years since Utah was a Power 4 team on the interior of that defensive line. So, and then you got the story of Nico for UCLA. So that is a huge game. Late night, 9 p.m. That's going to be a good one on Fox, Utah and UCLA.
I love how we're all saying just Nico. No one wants to say Imaliava.
Yeah.
Or however we're going to say it.
Imaliava?
Imaliava. Get Greg Wrubell in here and start on the pronunciations for us. We're screwing this thing up too much. I usually
try to do well with those, but I can't get his. I just can't.
Especially while you're just on the fly, it's not good. You know why? You just go, Nico, great guy. Nico's a great guy. All right, we've got hour number 2 coming up around the corner. We've got ourselves our Big 12 power rankings, first ones of the year. You can't hold us down, Big 12. We're going to do our media poll anyway. Our Big 12 sound roundup on top of it, all the sound from across the conference. We're keeping you ready right here. It is First and 12 right here on KSL News Radio. Take a listen. You can stream it online. You can also just listen to it in your car. Whatever you want to do, go back and listen to the podcast version of the program as well. Stay right here with us. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry. It is First and 12.